Anyway, we're glad you're here. Another week, Ignite Youth Group. We're glad you're here. It's probably the best night of your week. I'm hoping so, or at least one of the top 5, because it is for me. Aw, thanks, Aaron. Makes me so happy.
Wait, is it not April 1st?
Wow. Anyway, so we're glad you're here. Before we get started, I want to let everyone know, if you're not aware, tonight high schoolers will be getting another week of the lesson, and the middle schoolers will be getting a wonderful time of small groups back in their corners. I want to keep them distant because you're going to catch something crazy from middle schoolers. And Chris. I'm kidding. We love you, Chris. Look at that, shining glory. I'm kidding. We love everyone here, but small groups is an important time for everyone. So, before we get started, we got a couple announcements. Numero uno, number 1. Tonight, and every night, we want you guys to bring friends, especially this month. If you're not aware, this is week 2 of April. Yeah, that's the month. This is week 2 of April. This is also week 2 of our competition between every small group. High school boys, high school girls, middle school boys, middle school boys. If you're not aware of how our middle school boys, middle school girls. There's 4 different groups here by age and gender. Makes sense.
There's a lot of people with gender.
Whoa. Anyway, so if you bring friends, especially this month, you're going to get more points. We already saw a couple of people brought friends. High school boys I know got some more points. Who else? Girls. High school girls? High school girls got some more points. So we know what's going on. So what? It's really close. Paul is our points keeper. He does the best job at it. Look at that. Look at that glorious sheet of points. So we want you guys to bring your friends. If you bring your friends, they can go over there, get some candy, get a Monster. If you're in high school, Monster, or energy drink, whatever.
I'm just going to say the points.
Oh, okay. We're getting a middle of the competition
all right,
point.
Hold in here. Okay, 2 weeks into 4 weeks here in the competition, we have a close race. In 4th place, and barely, just by a few points, with 525 points is the middle school girls.
What?
All right? But
I expect
watch how
more.
close this is. With 550 points, only 25 points away, are the middle school guys.
High schoolers, let's go.
I mean, there are only 2, so congrats.
All right. In 3rd place with 600 points. So you're only separated by, trying to do math here really quick, 75 points.
One friend.
One friend between 4th place and 2nd place.
Jeez.
That's it.
It's tight.
In 2nd place with 600 points is the high school guys. So that means, I think it's the high school girls. Yeah. High school girls have 950 points.
Respect.
950.
That is impressive.
2 weeks.
They know how to.
I think you got your math wrong.
Paul's an expert at math. He knows what's going on. Yes, Aaron.
Bring a friend, do they have to be conscious or like alive and all?
Yes. Don't bring a dead person or anything else. Yes, we want you to bring a friend, Aaron. Your golf clubs don't count. I know. Sorry, Cameron. Anyway, bring your friends. That's the main thing. Next announcement. Oh yeah, we have a road trip coming up. This is going to be awesome. Yes. Thank you, Cameron. Cameron's our hype guy. Everyone, if you want to be any more encouraging and like crazy over the top like Cameron, this is the place to do it. We want that here, because I'm like that too, if you haven't noticed. So, the few but strong. Anyway, road trip's coming up, July 28th to August 1st. We're gonna be backpacking, we're gonna go to a mall, we're gonna do all sorts of fun stuff. So you wanna set your calendars, you wanna register. All of these events you can register for at www.vennaz.churchcenter.com. There's a lot of dots there. Maybe you guys don't have it memorized like me, but you'll get there. But anyway, it's on the little sheets and of all the events we have, so that's coming up. Set your calendars. If you guys don't have gear or you don't know about the money situation, is $200. If you don't know about the money situation, don't let that be the reason you don't go. Talk to Pastor Josh, talk to anyone else here. Go find gear at a garage sale or somewhere else, because we want you guys to go, and not having stuff should not be the reason you don't go. So, next announcement. Rock painting. This is gonna be epic. The most epic event in April. It's on April 18th.
You're not Will Arnett, man.
I know. Anyway, April 18th at 3 o'clock. This will be 3 o'clock on a Sunday, this Sunday. Yeah, this Sunday. So in 4 days,
Yeah.
4 days, I can do weeks. 4 days, 3 o'clock on a Sunday, we're gonna be painting rocks. We're gonna spread them all over Old Mill District and all over Downtown District and just spread love and joy throughout the city of Bend, and it's gonna be glorious.
Meet at Farewell Bend Park.
Meet at Farewell Bend Park. That is Farewell Bend Park.
What park? But it's like in down.
Farewell Bend.
Riverbend Park?
Yeah, sure. Show up to that park. No, Farewell Bend. Google it if you don't know where it is. And then finally, my favorite announcement.
Sex!
For no reason at all. But hey, Mom. Sex. What? So, this is a great event. We already had our first week. It was amazing. The videos are great. What we talk about is great. It's amazing stuff. This is something very important in life. I mean, we don't want it to be over the top important, but it's up there. I mean, it's important. So we want you guys to know as much as you can, because a lot of the time, it's not really talked about a lot in the church, and because kind of people assume that we know about it, but we don't really know about it in the godly Christian sense. We hear about it from kids at school, and we all know how that is. So if you want to know,
How is it?
it's great. We get down to the dirty details. I know. Anyway, so you want to come to this? It's at 1:30 on Sundays, way after church, but it's on Sundays, 1:30. It'll be in this fancy, glorious office. So you guys want to be there? It's amazing. I'm not joking. It's really good and really great for your life. So I am not done. Pastor Josh.
Thank you.
Nice job, Isaac.
Can you turn me up? Which one are you? All the way to the left.
He's the last one.
I'm the loudest one. How about now? There I am. Thank you, Isaac. That was a lot of fun. By the way, junior hires can come to that Sunday group also. We have some junior hires there, so we would love to have you. It'll be a lot of fun. Guess what?
Chicken bug.
That's my fault. I walked right into that. We have 54 people here tonight.
Wow.
Can you believe that? 50, give yourselves a hand. I'm trying my darndest to have just a teeny tiny little youth group, and you guys keep screwing it all up by bringing friends.
I thought that was sarcastic.
I'm being facetious. He's like, I'm confused. I did say, if you have a good memory, I did say that if you guys ever bump the numbers to 70, I would buy you an Oculus VR system for the video game room.
Heck
so
yeah.
this is, I think, maybe the closest we've gotten since I said that. So 16 people away, and then it's all yours. It's like the Price is Right. So, good. Well done. We got some good stuff planned. I am excited for our program tonight, but first, I'm going to dismiss the junior hires. You guys can go back to your rooms. Go back to your rooms with your wonderful directors. High schoolers, can you come close? First two rows. First two rows.
Wow. Directed. Rubber band.
Yeah, I'm concerned. You guys are, you're kind of hyper today. I'm noticing already.
Now? You're concerned now?
Well, that's a good point. That's a good
It
point.
took you this long? You're concerned? Yeah, that's Josh's shirt. There, that's good.
Oh my gosh.
I'll put you straight up.
Very cool.
You guys, you're about 6 feet apart, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, just checking. Want to be on the up and up. Okay, listen up. Shh. We're in our last lesson in our money series. And do you guys remember what we talked about 2 weeks ago? Investing, right?
The checks.
The checks? Very good, very good. Memory pegs, you're on it. We talked about what you want to invest in with your life and how wow. I'm tearing up, Cameron.
Is that cool?
We talked about how the investments that you make a huge difference in the rest of your life, and we talked about some really important investments that the Bible talks about. You remember any of those? There were a couple of them.
Give me like invest your time 4.5 seconds. 1.
No, like invest in like people.
Invest in people, be generous. Yep. Invest in the kingdom of God. Invest by tithing and obeying God. It's really important. Invest in who does God love? Who does God have a big heart for?
Everybody.
Poor people.
Yes. Yeah. Poor people. People are broken and hurting. Yep.
Invest in anything that helps God's movement in your community.
Bam. Nailed it. All right. Tonight, we're going to end the series, and then you'll officially end next week. But tonight, we're going to end the series talking about debt. The Bible actually has a lot to say about debt. So when I say, listen up, when I say the word debt, what are some things that come to mind? What have you heard about debt? Yeah.
It's bad.
Debt is bad? Okay. Aaron?
Oh, I forgot my hand was up. Like credit card debt, it comes in like all forms.
Yeah? Yeah? What else?
Stressful and embarrassing.
Stressful? Can be embarrassing? Yeah.
College.
College?
Yeah.
Anybody concerned about college debt? You heard about those things? Yep. Yep. What else? What else have you heard about debt? Yeah.
The IRS.
The IRS. Collection agencies. Yep.
No, the IRS is a federal one.
So listen up, you guys. Years ago, I went on a mission trip, and one of the things that we like to do with the kids that we were working with on this mission trip was launch water balloons at them from across the field. It's really important when you're doing Jesus' work. And so we have this launcher. We actually have one in the youth group, and you pull it back like 8 feet, and I mean, you can launch that thing right to the moon. And when you get hit with a water balloon, you feel it, like you get welts. And so I'm on one side with all the my group, and then my buddy, his name is Anthony, he's on the other side. He's a Hawaiian kid. He's such a cool guy. He was one of my best friends and had a good family and just a smart guy, really intelligent. And so he was on the other side, and he decided that he was going to taunt me from across the field when it was my turn to launch the water balloon. So he jumped out in front of the group and started dancing around like this, big old smile on his face, little of this thing going on. I think he might have actually turned around and like kind of, flashed his butt at me or something like that. With his pants on, it wasn't inappropriate.
Oh.
Geez, what were you thinking?
And it's camped.
So I pulled back, said a little prayer, and launched. And the balloon hit him square in the chest, right here. I'm not even kidding. He had a welt about like this on his chest. I'll never forget. It's one of my shining moments as a missionary, really. And but the reason I tell you that story is because Anthony was a great guy. He had such a great family. His mom was an incredible cook. And he went off to college, and he started racking up credit card debt. And it was interesting because he racked up so much credit card debt that he had to drop out of college, and he had to go back home and live at home and work, I'm not sure how long, could have been for years, to deal with his credit card debt. It totally changed his life and devastated his life. And it's crazy to think about that, because when you're in high school, you hear things at youth group, you hear things at school about like don't do drugs and don't become an alcoholic and don't get into all these things that parents are worried about. But debt can be extremely harmful too. It can really destroy your life if you're not smart about how you manage debt. So we're going to talk about debt, and it's a big deal. The average credit card debt of every person in this country, if you average it all out, it would be right around $6,000 to $7,000 for every man and woman. So that's how much. Now, remember 2 weeks ago when I showed you the percentages of investing, like you invest and then your money gets bigger and bigger and bigger and came up to $500,000 by the time I retired. When you have credit card debt, it does the opposite. So you owe more and more and more, anywhere from 10 on the low end to 20 or 25%. And so you have $7,000 in credit card debt. If you're working that out in your head, that's right around $400 to $500 a month that you're paying just in interest, not even paying off the card. So it can be devastating. So we're going to talk about, the Bible talks about it, so we're going to go into some of that. And I'm also going to have a friend come help us talk about. And so I'm going to introduce him. This is Mr. Kyle Frick. Give him a hand. So I want to tell you a little bit about Kyle. Kyle climbed Mount Everest 3 times blindfolded. He beat, you don't know this because he's too humble to tell you, but he beat a grizzly bear at arm wrestling and just recently got accepted by the Avengers. He's one of the Avengers now. But we're not here to talk about any of that stuff. Superpowers, none of that. Because Kyle has also been in the banking industry for over 20 years now, right? Working for Mid-Oregon Bank. So
You bake? Cool.
he banks. So he is the guy, and by the way, he's here a lot, hanging out a lot. He loves to talk to you guys if you ever want to talk about investments or debt or money management or anything like that. He's a great resource. He loves youth. But we're going to talk a little bit back and forth about debt. And if we have time, we'll get to your questions at the end if you have any questions. But we got some stuff to get through. So, welcome, Kyle.
Thanks.
Thank you for joining us.
Appreciate that introduction.
Yeah. We are going to start with a verse from Proverbs. So Proverbs 22, verse 7. And again, Proverbs is older, wise men and women who've seen a lot, done a lot in their lives, and many times they're writing to young people. And so it's a perfect place to go to get advice and wisdom. And this is what it says. Just as the rich rule the poor, so the borrower is servant to the lender. When you borrow, you serve whoever is lending to you. There are other translations that say the borrower is slave to the lender. In other words, when you get in debt, you become a slave to whoever you owe money to. So I'm going to hand things over to Kyle, and he's going to just say a few things about how that happens and how he's seen debt affect people's lives. So,
Thank you.
Sure.
Yeah. So first question is, for fun, how many people would like to have a whole bunch of money and just figure out how you have to spend it?
Oh, yeah.
No, I'm not gonna
All
raise my
right.
hand.
Okay. So that's one side. Everybody likes that idea. How many people want to have to go to work every day to give people their money when they get done with it?
Thanks, Dad. I appreciate it.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's the essence of this question. Do you want to give your money to other people, or do you want to keep it for yourself? And so that's a really good thing to think about. And there's a simple equation for being successful with managing your money, and that is simply don't spend more than you earn. It's that easy. But life gets complicated. Lots of things happen. So we could talk about expenses. There's lots of things when you grow up that you don't realize that your parents are paying for. You have your television, you have water, you have heat, you've got a roof over your head. All that stuff costs money, and then you want to go out and buy a car. It's like, if you're not thinking about what your expenses are before you buy a car, you might end up like having more bills than you're making money. Then what do you do? Well, I'll get another job. So then you're trading your time for money. So then if you're working all the time, do you have time to have fun? No. So I'm just saying, I can equate also, having money and being wise with money and managing your money to having more fun. Does that make sense? Okay, good. So I think you've got a couple of slides up there you guys can look at. This was what Josh was referring to. And if you pay the minimum payment, if you get this credit card, and this happens to a lot of people, it's easy when you got this plastic card in your hand and you can just go and spend the money. It's really easy because you don't keep track of it. You know, it's like, all of a sudden it's like, oh my gosh, how did I spend that much money? Go ahead, Aaron.
Why don't you just buy, or why don't you just get a debit card instead of a credit card? Like, it doesn't make sense.
That's a good.
It seems smarter.
Well, a debit card, and the difference. What's the difference between a debit card and a credit card?
Is
That's a good question because a lot of people use debit cards these days. Well, do you guys know the difference?
Oh, I do.
Okay.
Debit card is spending your own money, and credit card is spending the bank's money. I think.
Right. Well, credit card is credit.
Yeah.
So you're borrowing money. A debit card means that you've got the money in your account and you're just spending. And so, but if you spend more, what happens if you spend more than what's in your account? It's called an overdraft fee. And that could be like $25, $30 every time you do that. I mean, so just think about this. You gotta have a Starbucks. I'm dying for a Starbucks, but I only have $1 in my account, but it's $3 for the Starbucks. So you go get the Starbucks. How much did that Starbucks just really cost you?
$30.
How many people would pay $30 for a cup of Starbucks?
A lot of people. A lot of people.
I've had this happen before where I didn't know my account ran out, and I just racked up, got gas, got Starbucks, and it's like $150 in fees for one day. And that's when I send Rachel to give the puppy eyes to the bank and say, please, we didn't know.
So is that good money management or bad money management? Okay. So when you look up here, and I think this is a really good graphic, and it's really true. And when you get your credit card statement, if you ever get a credit card, and I don't know if you will or not, but a credit card is something that you're probably going to have. Okay? I mean, it's something that you're going to need as an adult because you can't rent a car, you can't book a hotel room. There's a lot of things you just can't do without a credit card. So it's important that you have a credit card and be able to know how to manage it. And when I think about this, is that there's a box on your statement. It has to be there because they want you to know. It's called the Truth in Lending Act to protect you. But it'll tell you how much interest you're going to pay on that amount of money if you pay the minimum amount. And every time you get your statement, you'll see that. So just pay attention to it when you get it. And it'll say, and for that amount of time, for 3 years, to pay it off in 3 years, you'll have to pay this much money. And then it'll also say in 10 years, if you pay the minimum amount, this is how much you'll pay in interest. Just like that, $70,000. Could be true. I think I was looking at 18% interest is actually kind of low these days. 18% interest is the maximum that a credit union charges, but most banks now are probably in the range for you guys. And when you start getting good credit, then you can get better offers and better interest rates. But for most people, a credit card is going to be 23 to about 28%. Anything over 28% is probably going to fall under what they call usury laws, which means that it's like overcharging too much for things in a hurricane. You're gouging people. So financial institutions have to follow that. But one of the key places where you can go and borrow money for extra amounts are payday lenders. So they're very friendly. They're going to be very helpful for you. But payday lenders are not your friend. And no matter how nice they are to you, they're making a lot of money. That's why they're nice to you. Okay, so let's look at the next one.
And I wanted to say, so Rachel and I have a credit card. We've had a couple over the years. And when you get a credit card, you sign up for it, you put your, now you usually have an app, you have an online bank account, and you tell it how you want to pay every month, right? There's a little box that comes up. How do you want to pay? It's connected to your bank account. And you can either say pay the minimum balance, pay the whole balance, or pay the number that you want. We have always put the whole balance. So in 15 years together, we have not paid a single penny of interest to the bank, ever, because we've paid the full balance every single month. And so if we ever put something on our credit card, it's not even necessarily like it's borrowed. It's just something that's in my account that I know will come out of my account. You get in trouble as soon as you push that minimum balance or anything below the full amount. You're going to pay big interest rates immediately, just like that.
So, and this is bad of me, but I'm going to give you I'm going to give you one thing that you might think of, and that's like, for example, if you get a rewards card And if you can manage it well, you can actually take money from the bank. Because if you borrow the money and say, for example, it's airline miles, and you get airline miles every time that you charge money, but you pay it off every month, the credit card companies don't like that very much, because you earn things and you can do well with that if you're doing it wisely. So managing your money can be very profitable for you if you're smart and you don't let it get to you. But all of those offers, and this is a thing that we tell people all the time, the only way they can afford to give those offers is half of the people have to fail. That means the people who aren't doing it are paying for the people who are doing it. Right? Does that make sense? Because the bank's not wanting to pay for it. They have to figure out how to get you to pay for it.
Yep.
Okay, so here's a bunch of things, and you guys can read them, but just signs that you have too much debt. And I think the really key indicator is that you're going to start worrying about money. It's like, if you start thinking about money and how am I going to pay this bill? How am I going to do this? How am I going to do that? And you start worrying about money, it's really stressful. And I've seen lots of people that have really, gotten into a bunch of trouble because they start scrambling around trying to fix it, but they don't solve the problem. They keep doing the same things. As an example, from time to time, we do debt consolidation classes. So we can help people get all of their credit bundled up and get it down to a lower rate of interest so that they can pay it off in, a certain period of time, 3 to 5 years. But what do? They do that, and then they go out and start spending on their credit card again. I mean, it's insane. So you just need to be careful of those things. And just remember, again, you can manage your money, or your money can manage you. So who do you want to be in charge? Do you want money to be in charge of your life, or do you want to be in charge of your life? That's the bottom line.
And here's another thing that many of you guys have felt, or you've seen friends feel, is you see your parents stressing out over stuff. And so then you're stressed out, your siblings are stressed out, and it affects the whole family. And so as you get older, you need to think about the kind of home, the kind of environment you want to have. And if you cannot spend more than you earn, Kyle said that at the beginning. I was going to show you a skit, but it's really old, so I opted not to show you. But it's an old Saturday Night Live skit where this guy gives money advice, and there's this couple, and they're in debt, and they're all like, what do we do? And the money advice is, I wrote this book, it's 1 page long. It's called Don't Spend Money You Don't Have. And they're like, that doesn't make sense. So if I want something, I can't afford it, then I buy it, right? No. Don't spend money you don't have. Well, wait. If I have the money, then I can buy it. Yes. But if I don't have the money, I should still buy it. No. That's what it is. But it won't just affect you. And when you grow up and get married and have a family and have kids of your own, then these things will affect them too. So
yeah, it's tough being a parent because your kids want a lot of stuff.
No.
And it's hard. You don't want to tell them no. I mean, it really is hard. You're like, I want my kids to have everything. But it's like, okay, now I have to tell them no or else I go to jail. And I don't want to go to jail because I'm no good to them in jail when I'm not making any money. So, the whole thing about, what Josh just said is there's a great thing about paying cash or just saving up for buying stuff. And the reason why, and credit makes it easy because it's called, when you're in the grocery store and you're walking past all that really cool stuff at the checkout aisle, you're going, oh, I need one of those. That's called an impulse buy. How much would you be doing that if you didn't have the money to do that? You wouldn't, because if you didn't have the money to pay for it, you wouldn't. But with credit, you can do that. Yeah. So that's the thing, is an impulse buy, and there's another thing. When you start saving for things, saving for things that you want to buy and you earn them, man, I'll tell you what, it means so much more to you than just, the impulse buy. And not only that, but sometimes what you'll find out is, if you start saving up the money over time, maybe that thing wasn't really what you wanted. You might have thought that's what you wanted, but by the time you get there and you save the money, you go, no, that's really not what I needed. What I really want or need, and that's a whole other conversation, is wants and needs. But that's where you can get and have a better understanding of how to manage money.
Are there things you can buy with a credit card that you can't buy with a debit card?
No. I don't think so. Sometimes it's the other way around. Sometimes there are things you have to buy with a debit card that you can't buy with a credit card.
Well, there's a couple of exceptions, but they're really minor. And the thing that I will tell you is that most debit cards are associated with a credit card, like a Visa debit card. So they have access to give you credit as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's our next slide? We're going to cover this. Okay, how to avoid the pitfalls. Oh, this is great. I love this. So first, yes, Hua?
What's a good credit score and a bad credit score? Like I see like Credit Karma and stuff like that, and I have no clue what it is.
Okay. So a credit score was, the credit score was started by Fair and Isaac Company, FICO. And it's used for determining, you know, how good you manage money. So it's how you manage credit, not how you manage money, but how you manage your credit. And there's a bunch of components. I can walk through that really quick, but the main thing about credit scores is that, you know, way back in the day, people lived in communities, and I knew Josh. Josh is a hard worker. If Josh asks me if he can borrow $10 because he wants to build a shed, I say, okay, great, here you go, Josh, because I know Josh is going to pay me back because I know Josh isn't going anywhere. Nowadays, people are really mobile. So how do you know if somebody comes to the credit union or comes and wants to buy a car if they're going to pay you back? So that's what a credit score is. Credit score is truly a propensity for someone what's the risk that I'm going to take to give you money and that you're going to pay it back to me. That's what a credit score is. And there's the key components, and it's really easy to manage your credit score. And you earn a credit score. You earn a good credit score, or you earn a bad credit score. It doesn't just happen. So it depends entirely on how you manage your credit. So the really easy things are, one is pay your bills on time. When you don't pay your bills on time, your credit score goes down really fast. Second one is, that's 35% of your credit score. 30% of your credit score is your capacity. That means if I have a credit card for $1,000 and I've charged $999 on it, I've used up all my capacity. So if I have a whoops, if I have a flat tire, if I have something happen and I'm like, okay, then I've used up all my credit, so I don't have any more room. And so that's bad. But capacity is going to be, the best way to use capacity is to think of, I want to use 25%, 30%, or less of the credit that I have. So if I have $1,000 worth of credit, I don't want to go above using $300 unless it's a real emergency. And then as soon as I get it, I want to get it back down below $300. There's a couple more things, but those are the two critical ones.
On the high end, 720 is, like, if you're above 720, that's about, you can get just about whatever you want. Mm-hmm. I don't know, low end is like what, 500 range?
No, low,
500?
I've seen 300s.
Nice.
There's not, you have to earn a 300.
Yeah.
You work really hard to get to a 300.
And here's the thing about credit score, guys. So a lot of people don't have any credit score. That doesn't necessarily help you either. So at some point, you're probably going to, want to borrow money at least for school or buy a house or something like that. And so looking for a way to start small, building a credit score can be really helpful. The other thing you need to realize is that credit scores are often tied to how much interest you'll pay. And so, like, you hear commercials about 3% interest on a home mortgage. The difference between 3 and 4% interest on a home mortgage is tens of thousands of dollars.
Or hundreds.
Or hundreds of thousands of dollars. And they will look at your credit score to figure out which percentage you get. So actually being responsible with your credit score can give you the opportunity to buy certain cars or certain houses and save thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars in the future. So
pay a lot less to borrow money when you have a good credit score.
And it's so easy to manage it now. There's tons of apps. They'll tell you, you're screwing up here, stop it. And it's really helpful, yeah.
So I remember like watching commercials, same type of thing, that were always talking about checking your credit score makes it like bad, or is it like a bad thing, makes it worse? Why would, like, what's the deal?
No. So there's two different types of credit pulls, okay? There's a hard inquiry, which those stay on your credit report for 2 years. And those actually have it's like 5% of your credit score on how many inquiries you have. So if you're running around and you're applying for credit in a lot of places, that's bad. So that'll impact your credit score.
But you can look at your credit score.
But you can look at your credit score, or you can go, there's lots of different tools, Credit Karma. We've got an app right on the Mid-Oregon website on your online banking that'll tell you. And they do it every month so that and you can watch your credit score go up and down, just depending on how you're doing. But that's kind of cool. And 850 is the highest score. That's the best score.
Yeah.
And then, like Josh says, like 680 to 720 is like what we call your gold platinum range. And those people are the best borrowers. That's like about 60% of the population are gold and platinum people. So that means like 40% are what we call B or lower. And B is for bankrupt. Or they're headed that way. I mean, it's B credit because they're just below the platinum gold area, so they're not really doing a good job. But you can be C, D, E, and F on credit too. So there's a lot of different ranges.
So I'm kind of a car guy. And when I buy a car, one of the things I love to do is go to all the dealerships in town and just test drive whatever I want to test drive because it's so much fun. I'm like, oh, is that a Porsche in the corner? Huh, can I test drive that? And so I was buying a car, and I was driving by this dealership, and they had this Jaguar sports car. It was like a little two-seater. And I walked in, and I'm like, hey, can I take the Jaguar for a test drive? And the guy's like, you can't get financing for that. And I'm like, well, I want to drive it. And he's like, what are you doing? You're wasting your time. And I'm like, are you going to let me drive it? I said this literally. Are you going to let me drive it or not? And the guy's like, fine, but I gotta drive with you. I'm like, that's fine, I don't care. So he gets in the car and we're driving along and he's like, how's your family? And then he says, just out of curiosity, what's your credit score? And I told him, and he, like a switch flipped. Hey, feel that leather underneath you? Hear that engine roar? Hit the gas a little bit, hit the gas a little bit. Like, that's the difference that it makes with people. Now, I wasn't going to buy it because, I mean, come on, it's a Jaguar, I can afford that. But it taught me a lesson about how important that is to manage. So.
And we have a really good tool to help you build your credit. So I'm going to tell you, it's called a credit builder loan. And so what we do is we loan you $500, and then we put it in your account, and we put it into a secured account. So you can't take it. It's locked in there. And then you pay us monthly for 6 months or 12 months and with 3% interest, like a low rate of interest. And then when you pay it off, you get all that money. You get that $500. So this is a great way to like build your credit and like start saving like for a down payment for a car or something like that. So 2 things there before 2 disclosures. One is you need to be 18 because you got to be an adult. And number 2 is you can't just go in and borrow the money. You have to have a source of income to pay the loan. And that isn't like my allowance from my parents. I mean, you got to have a job. Okay?
I have it in writing.
They're going to go, because the first question they're going to ask you is, how are you going to repay the loan? And they're going to go, okay, let me think. But so those are the disclosures. But credit builder loan, we do a lot of them for people who have damaged credit. We do a lot of them for people who are starting off and getting credit. And so instead of going out and getting other types of credit, a financial institution is one of those places that has a better credit rating, a credit union or a bank, than like a store, a chain grocery store, not a grocery store, but a department store, or like a Best Buy credit card. No. So if you're borrowing from somebody who's selling you something, that's probably not a good thing. So yeah. Questions? Okay, so I think the biggest thing on here is obviously we talked about saving more than you spend, making more money, creating a spending plan. Spending plans are great. I mean, think of spending plan as a budget, but the reality is budget's kind of boring, but spending is fun. So if you're thinking about how you're spending your money, and paying yourself first, that's really important. So like we talk about tithing, it's like paying God first, then I want you to put yourself right below God with money and just say, okay, after I give God his share, then I'm going to put a little away for myself. Because over a long period of time, you're going to be way ahead of everybody else because you're going to have a ton of money. And just save a little bit. I mean, if it's only 10%, just say, is 10% a lot of the money? No, it's not. But put it aside and put it in an account, start saving it. So, and then we recommend, very much so, setting up an emergency fund. Because you never know. I mean, things happen. And life throws lots of weird quirks at you. So you just don't want to be in a position, if you have an emergency, if your car breaks down, if something happens, if you have to go to the doctor, you break a leg or something, and you have that emergency fund, you don't have to borrow money to fix your car and pay interest, because you can either get paid interest by saving money, or you can pay interest for borrowing money.
Yeah.
Which one do you think is better?
Rachel and I put together an emergency fund years ago, and one of the things we realized we were doing was just sticking it in the bank, which is fine, but we thought, well, we'd get a little interest on it because it's sitting there. So we went to our banker and said, what are some things we can do with this money where we have access to it quickly if we need it for an emergency, but while it sits there, it can make us a few $100 a year. So there's some things you can do like that is literally like free money.
Yep.
So if you're smart.
High yield savings account.
There you go.
Yeah, we have those, and they earn better interest. So, but I think the important thing is, anyway, with the $1,000, there's a great guy if you want to listen to money management and how to stay out of debt. Is called Dave Ramsey, and he does a great job of explaining this stuff. First thing he says, get $1,000, save $1,000, and just put it there. Now, he doesn't just, it's not just keeping $1,000. You may need to use it. It's like, okay, well, I need $400 this month because this bill came up and I didn't expect it. I got one today, like a $500 tax bill I wasn't expecting. I'm like going, oh, ouch. Oops. But I'm going to blame that on my CPA, so.
Seriously.
Yeah. Anyway.
So, we just have a couple minutes left, but there's one other really important thing I want to talk to you about, because many of you are going to have the opportunity to do this, and I want to show you what the Bible says, because it's super important. And this is the idea of loaning money to someone or signing your name on someone else's loan. All the parents are like, teach him, Josh. So check out what Proverbs says. Check out this verse. 22, 26 and 27. Don't agree to guarantee another person's debt or put up security for someone else. If you can't pay it, even your bed will be snatched out from under you. So essentially, Proverbs is saying, don't do it. Now, here's a couple of things that I would say, and that some of them I've learned the hard way. When I was in college, I had this car that was a piece of crap. I bought for $300, probably overpaid. And when I finally sold it, I sold it to my brother-in-law for $300. So I didn't lose any money on it, but it was one of those like, hey, you want to buy my car? Sure, how much? $300. All right, I'll pay you eventually. So he's sort of owns my car, and he hasn't paid me yet. And so after a while, you kind of start watching their life, and you're like, oh, going to McDonald's, huh? Getting lunch at McDonald's. You can afford that, but you can't afford to pay me. Oh, got a new t-shirt, huh? What's that about? And it just got worse and worse and worse.
Vacation to Jamaica.
Yeah. So then the car broke down and went kaput, and he goes out and buys a new car for like $6,000. Still hasn't paid me. And so my point is it whenever it goes bad, it ruins the relationship. And it doesn't matter if it's with your parents, with your siblings, with your best friend, with your girlfriend or boyfriend. It's like it always happens this way, where if you loan them money and they don't pay you back, you start watching everything about their lives, you start feeling distant from them, you start feeling angry with them. And so you don't want to do it. And even when you're older and have some resources and some finances to work with, you want to be real careful about signing loans for anybody else, especially people who really struggle, like they're a little older and they really struggle to get a home or get a house. They're like, please help me, this time will be different. So there's a couple things to keep in mind if you want to do this. Number one, you have to know that you can never see the money again and it's okay. And not only is it okay, like it won't wreck you financially, but it's okay relationally. If that person never pays you back, you're not going to hold against them. You're going to be able to forgive them. You got to know that going into it. You got to know that it won't get you in trouble if they don't pay you back. And I would recommend as you get older, and I know you're not in these situations, but some of you will be someday. So like if I had a house and my brother wanted to rent it from me, and my brother's amazing. I trust him with my life. And he makes a lot of money. He's a great guy. If he wanted to rent the house from me, I would have full confidence that he would pay me a monthly fee. I would still hire a management company because it's my brother. I would for anybody, but because it's my brother. And I would say, your whole interaction with this house is between you and that management company. The deal is, I'm not doing anything. I'm not making any decisions. I'm not kicking you out. I'm not keeping you accountable. I'm doing nothing. We are brothers. You work with that management company. And that gives you like a buffer where, and management companies are tough. Like they're the real deal. They'll hold people's feet to the fire if they need to. And it just saves you from having to get into hard situations with people over some of these arrangements. But generally speaking, as Proverbs says, don't do it. Like avoid it like the plague. Don't sign for people. Don't loan stuff from people unless it's just a gift. And you can even say, someone could say, hey, can I borrow $100? And if you want, you could say, you know what? I'm just going to give you $100. And I go, no, I'll pay you back. I'll pay you back. And okay, I mean, if you get to it, sure. But I want you to know I'm giving it to you and you don't have to. 9 times out of 10, they won't. I'm just telling you. Don't be hopeful. But that needs to be the attitude, because as soon as it's, I really need this $100, I'm going to trust you, and you're going to pay it back, right? Like you're just asking for trouble, and it's probably not going to get you anywhere you want to be. So, anything to add?
Yeah, just a couple of quick things on that too, and just be aware. Like for example, with Josh's selling the car, Josh isn't going to give him the title to the car until he gives him the money. So he still owns the car. Guess what happens if his brother hits somebody and kills him? He could be held liable for that. So there's a great deal of risk, not just in giving the money to somebody, but if they do something with whatever you gave them that happens to be illegal or just an accident or something, because you gave them that thing, you could be held responsible for that too. So you're not just giving it to them. You all of a sudden is like saying, I'm gonna be responsible for whatever actions you take.
Yeah. Okay. So we got close. We have 1 minute.
Yep.
I just want to throw in.
Thank you.
I just want to throw in. Hold on. Don't clap yet. I have 2 more quick things, really quick things. First of all, at some point in your life, banks will offer you more than you can pay. Especially when you look for a house. If you have the credit to buy a house, they will tell you, you can buy a house like this. And you can, if you don't mind living off top ramen. Okay? So just know, when they say, you can buy a house like this, try to pull that back 20, 30%, somewhere in there, and you can feel a lot better about that. So keep that in mind. And there's one other thing I want to look at. College, that was it. So it is, I've seen this over and over and over again in my years of youth ministry. Youth go off to university, they spend 1 semester at the university, they go broke, they can't afford anymore, they come back with 4 classes worth of credits and $10,000 in debt, and now they're living at home working it off. Some of you will be able to afford going right to university, and that's fine. But it is really smart and really wise to think about just community college or online college, get your associates out of the way. You can transfer to whatever university you're dreaming about. If you can get in and work hard on your grades, you will literally pay about half as much for college. And like when an employer down the road looks at your resume and they see, like a lot of you want to go to NNU, if they see COCC and NNU, that is just as good as just NNU from their perspective. Nobody says, oh, they got their associates at the community college. It doesn't work that way. It's like you can still go to a university, get a great degree, and pay a lot less.
I gotta tell you this story really quick.
Well, let me add one thing, and then we'll close with your story. If you can stand to hang out at home with your parents for 2 more years, that will save you a lot of money as well while you go to college. Some of you can't, and I get that, but it's okay.
So what Josh is saying, and again, I think education is really important. As a matter of fact, there's very strong statistics that show that if you graduate from college, you're going to earn like $1 million more than people who don't go to college. But that's a rough thing. I mean, not everybody's that way. But here's this deal. You can get lots of college loans. You can get education loans at very low interest to pay low. And I know tons of people that are 40 and 50 years old that are still paying for their college debt because that's what they did. And the other thing is like when you get those loans and you don't use all the money for your education, they give you a refund at the end of the quarter, which is just you're borrowing this money and then you get this refund and you're going, oh great, I'm going to go buy a new TV. Well, guess what? You're going to pay for that thing for the next 30 years. Do you want to pay for a television for 30 years? So just think about it, be smart.
Put it back on your loan. All right, let's pray and we'll close. Father, please give us wisdom. Please help us to be smart about the way we manage money. God, we don't want to be enslaved to any debtors. We want to be free to serve you and to serve our families. And so God, just watch over us. Help us to be wise and to learn and to grow in these areas. Thank you for Kyle and his wisdom. Thank you for bringing him here. And we ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.